CMA 82 now. Hey guys, CMA 82 now, bringing you another Dragon Ball video. This one's another collaboration from Dragon Ball Nation and Laughingstock Media, and it's questioning whether the character Baby in Dragon Ball GT, whether he was truly evil. I mean, there's no question about it. He was maniacal, he was diabolical, but was he evil? Because, like, if you look into his race's past, the Saiyans monstrously wiped them out. So it's an analyzation, I guess, of whether or not he's really evil or whether or not he's justified in what he's doing, going along on this path. So let's check this out. And go.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Dragon Ball Nation. Now today I have an interesting discussion with Mike from Laughingstock Media, and this is going to be a discussion on Baby from Dragon Ball GT. Now I know a lot of guys don't like Dragon Ball GT, but that's what we're going to be discussing today. It's going to be discussing Baby's character, his motives, his personality. Was he really an evil or a bad guy? So I brought Mike from Laughingstock Media on here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, it's Mike here from Laughingstock Media. How's it going?
Yeah, and like I said, we're talking about Baby, his characters. This is almost kind of a response to an old video I did on who the most evil Dragon Ball villain was, and a lot of people were wondering why Baby wasn't on there. And I brought Michael on here to discuss Baby's character and his personality, because I don't think Baby necessarily is actually one of the most evil characters in the series. Now, yes, obviously we all know GT is considered to be non-canon, but Baby still is an official part of the Dragon Ball franchise, and he does exist. He's just not officially canon, but he does, exist in the franchise. So, Mike, do you want to start us off here discussing kind of, how Baby's performance was in the series? What he did, the way he kind of interacted with the Z Fighters.
Well, I mean, Baby, of course, from the beginning, Baby hated the Saiyans, and it seemed like his entire plan was to get back at them and, have revenge against them. And that, of course, all ties back into his backstory of, Baby is the creation of the amalgamation of the different genes of Tuffles from the original planet Plant, that the Saiyans landed on and conquered and then named it Vegeta. And essentially they exterminated Baby's race. And the king and the scientists in a last-ditch effort put all of their DNA into this thing that became Baby and shot it off into space. And it seemed like, Baby wanted to just take these people over, and he was really powerful too. I mean, he was able to beat these really powerful, Super Saiyan 3 level characters. And I mean, in the end, it just seemed like almost as if Baby was kind of justified in a lot of the things he was doing.
Right, and Baby, not saying that Baby is a good guy exactly, but his intent, his design was intended to be a savior, and as you said, a last-ditch effort, and not to go on what is kind of a cliche description, so to speak, but the Saiyans to the Tuffles, the Saiyans were essentially like the Nazis. Wouldn't you agree, Mike?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny, people talk about Frieza being genocidal, but I mean, the Saiyans were doing it before they ever were in Frieza's control. I mean, the Saiyans destroyed their original world, and then they came, as nomads to the plant, and they were just like, screw it, let's exterminate all of them. There was the Saiyan versus the Tuffle Wars, wars that lasted for years, and then eventually they just turned into Ozaros and cleared the land of them, you know what I mean? So, I mean, they definitely were very, you know, it's just in terms of like having the superior race and trying to rule the world. So, I mean, yeah, they are very Nazi-esque.
Definitely, and we don't know the person because they're an amalgamation of all the Tuffles as well as the Tuffle King. We don't know what some of the Tuffles were like, but it seemed that they were generally a peaceful race. Aside from, you know, they were defending their planet, which, you know, you have to do when your planet's getting attacked. You have to defend it in some way with their laser guns. But they seem to be a peaceful race for the most part, so they needed to make this warrior as the last effort to kind of combat this. The one thing that people have made a point on, which until recently we've discussed was a little bit hard to explain, was when Baby later in the series was taking over a lot of the Earthlings. But this, me and Mike kind of agree that this was kind of basically like the ultimate weapon. And Mike, would you like to
He was
say
just
your theory
rebuilding
on
his
that?
people.
Well, I mean, essentially, Baby does go on to take over the Earthlings, you know, but I feel like the main reason why Baby did that is because the way that he was created and designed. I mean, Baby probably originally, in my theory, is essentially Baby was sent off into space to eventually become created and then come back to the planet Vegeta so that he could do exactly what he did on Earth to Vegeta and essentially take over the Saiyans and turn them all into Tuffles and then recreate, you know, his world the way it used to be before the Saiyans came and just killed everything off. But I mean, the only problem is that Frieza, of course, came into the picture, and Frieza blew up the planet along with the Saiyans. So the only remaining Saiyans, the only ones that still were alive, were on Earth. So essentially, this ultimate weapon, instead of targeting its original home world and the original Saiyans, and getting a sort of, I guess, justified way of revenge, ended up becoming a weapon used more for evil in terms of attacking, you know, the Earthlings who weren't involved in the war, but of course also trying to get revenge on the Saiyans through that means. So it seemed like the Earthlings became sort of a casualty in a war between two factions that they really weren't involved in to begin with.
Exactly, like Baby, even though his character himself I do think is flawed, I'm sure Michael will agree, he's very egotistical, he's cocky, he has some flaws
Maniacal.
and some very negative parts of his personality to begin with. Those could be because of the amalgamation of
He
all
also
the Tuffles,
killed
maybe there were some
Dr.
bad
Mew.
ones here and there, or, you know, all those years he's developing and he's thinking about these Saiyans, it could have messed with his mind. Obviously, his whole planet being destroyed. But yeah, Baby was just in the wrong spot. He was in a situation he was not designed for. So he used the tools that he was developed with, and pretty much the people that were around him were affected. Even aside from the Earthlings that were getting, you know, in the Z-Fighters that were getting taken over, we saw that young boy that was on that spaceship had gotten taken over, and that was kind of the whole gateway to infect the rest of the cast that was affected.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, when he infected the boy on the ship and then when he infected the doctor, the thing is that those, you know, they were just being used essentially as vehicles so he can get back to after the Saiyans. And even though we could say, of course, the Saiyans, except for Vegeta on his planet, didn't really have anything to do with that war or weren't really sympathetic to the Saiyans in that case, I mean, essentially, I feel like he was just using them to get to the Saiyans as opposed to trying to infect and kill and attack those people, because in the end, he didn't kill them, he just left them alive.
Exactly. He didn't really use them directly for combat, so to speak. He didn't really injure those hosts. The ones that he really got his hooks into were this other Saiyans, Goten, Gohan, you know, Vegeta, and, you know, all the other humans, like Bulma especially, was a huge assistant to Baby in the end, really. But Baby's character, I think, is interpreted by a lot of viewers of this series, and we're not really trying to say that Baby was a good or hero or should have been a hero or anything, but he was
champion.
intended to be a justification of what the Saiyans had done to the Tuffles, because the Saiyans were long ago a very evil and brutal race of people, and this was their attempt at trying to justify the massacres that were done to the Tuffle race. So I think Baby, you know, there was a lot of intent that was good for his character, but the build-up with all the death and Baby's development, you know, thinking about all that stuff, I think really messed with his design. You know, obviously he was in the wrong spot, so he was taking over all these bodies and, you know, pretty much taking over the whole Earth, and, you know, doesn't even though Goku and Vegeta are now good guys and the other Saiyans, he doesn't look at them as that way. But Mike, do you have anything else to say before we move off?
I feel like maybe under the proper circumstances, you know, I mean, Baby's character, it is like the ultimate weapon. It's almost like a xenomorph, you know, like in the Alien vs. Predators or the Prometheus. They use the xenomorphs as sort of a ultimate weapon that takes over different hosts and destroys everything in sight. You know, it seems like the Tuffles just created for that purpose. But, I mean, of course, in the end, the Tuffles themselves seem to only be waging that war of defense. And it seemed like maybe under different circumstances, Baby could have actually been good, assuming that if Frieza hadn't destroyed the Saiyan homeworld and things turned out a little bit differently. But I mean, in the end, what he was created for was essentially the destruction of an entire race. So it seemed more revenge than actual good motivations. But there is certainly some sort of justification there, despite the way that it was executed and the evil that he actually perpetrated.
Right, and I guess that's a pretty good spot to close off. I'd like to hear what you guys really think about this, because I think that me and Mike kind of dissect this in a way that a lot of people, at least from my perspective, haven't necessarily looked at Baby's character, and I think that he had a very interesting character, even though GT obviously is non-canon. I think Baby's character was one of the most well-designed in the actual entire franchise, to be quite honest, but I'd like to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Mike, would you like to introduce your channel for those of the viewers that don't really know about it?
Well, my channel, I do Dragon Ball Z segments, of course, but I also like to talk about movies, I like to talk about wrestling, and I like to talk about other animes. I'm going to start doing some Yu Yu Hakusho segments, as well as some other shows I really have enjoyed throughout the years. So, if you're really into any of these things and you're curious, check out my channel, which will be in the description.
Laughingstock Media.
Alright guys, and as I said, I want to hear what you guys think about this. Go check out Mike's channel. He's got some great stuff on there, but let me know what you guys think of this. I thought it was an awesome discussion, really in-depth on the character of Baby. But other than that, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll catch you later.
So yeah. Not like I feel Baby was by any stretch of the means a hero, good guy, but he was a champion of the Tuffles, and what he was doing, sure, it was revenge, but it was also pre-programmed, ensuring that the Tuffle race would continue. You know, a survival tool, and definitely what befell his people was unjustified at the hands of the Saiyans. So I mean, it's so mixed up in there. I mean, yeah, you know, he was not a good person, he was not a good guy, he was not a hero, but he had a lot of justification for what he did. And you know, I don't know, you guys tell me what you guys thought. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll make sure to put the link to this video in the description. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll definitely catch you on the next one. Take it easy.